Uh,
Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. Stories of loss to keep you winning. In our community, we know that to win in investing, you must take risk, but to win big, you've got to reduce it. Join our community to claim your podcast listener discount on my Valuation Masterclass Bootcamp, where students learn how to value companies like a pro and advance their career. Go to myworstinvestmentever.com to join the community for free. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz from A Stotz Academy, and I'm here with featured guest Emmanuel Michael, or let's just call him EM. EM, are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yes, yeah, perfect. I love it. I love it. Uh, let,
Yeah.
let me introduce you to the audience. Emmanuel
Okay.
Michael, a leadership and career success coach, is a seasoned and highly sought after strategic business leader with over 20 years management experience spanning various industries such as multidisciplinary engineering, information technology, hospitality, and financial services, of which over 17 years have been in human resource management practice. Between March and August 2017, he held forth as the interim CEO and head of HR at Let Let's Co.
Let's go.
Let's
Yeah,
Go.
let's go.
Let's Go MFB, a national microfinance bank in Nigeria. He is currently the head of human capital there. Emmanuel is also the founder and host of HR with EM, a platform to connect, learn, and share on everything leadership, career development, and employee experience. He is fondly called the HR celebrity by the Nigerian HR community. EM, take a minute and fill any further tidbits about your life.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. That was a long intro. Okay, so what is missing there now is I'm married. I'm married, and then I have a set of triplets. They were born 22 months ago, so October 2019. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's triplets, two boys, one lovely, beautiful girl. So
You and your
complete.
wife decided we're just going to do it all in one go.
Yeah, once and then that's it. So that is something that I would like to share. So
Yeah,
for the audience to know, which
that's
most people don't, some do, but not all do. So that's something that is missing there in that bio.
yeah.
But and it's been lovely, a great experience trying to bring them up. Every day I learn something new with the way I interact with them. So it's
Mm,
like building a business. I shared recently about the patience that you need to bring up these children is like the same kind of patience you need to bring up your business. So when we talk about investment, you also need some sort of patience to get the investment to grow. So let's get it.
I mean, it's hard enough to be a father of one kid at a time,
Yeah,
but to
yeah.
have three come along,
Three at the same time,
that's
demanding the
just
same thing, demanding the same energy. So
um.
it's times three, everything you do.
What at what point did you know that it was going to be triplets? Did you know
From
before? Or,
yeah, yeah, from when they were conceived. So
mm,
uh, we attended hospitals, and then from time to time we did the scan, and we were told initially we were told they were going to be four, you know, and then somehow did another test. Then the doctors who were doing the test said, it looks as if it's three now, it's no longer four. So we were still excited,
uh,
but we were looking out for two, so God decided to give us extra so that we don't have to.
no more.
So that was it. So we started planning from the onset when we knew they were going to be three, but we didn't know the gender.
Right.
So I kept insisting, I need to make sure there's a baby girl there. It's not just only boys, because I
Mm,
love baby girls. So
exactly.
eventually, God blessed us. There was a baby girl, and then there were two boys.
Fantastic. Well, that's exciting, and that's a cool thing to learn about you. And now
Yeah.
it's time to share your worst investment ever. And since no one goes into their worst investment thinking it will be, tell us a bit about the circumstance leading up to it, and tell us your story.
Okay. So sometime in 2000, the year 2000. Okay, so I had worked with this multidisciplinary engineering company, and there were some challenges. Business was not good. and there was need for me to start looking for something else to do. So early 2000, I started thinking of what to do. Before then, I used to visit the United States Information Service. That is what it was called then, in the northern part of the country where I was resident, just to go and see what sort of business ideas, because I've always wanted to do business. So I kept visiting there. So I got some ideas. I got information about a company that deals in locks. So I made contact with that company that deals in locks, and I started looking for how do I sell these locks in Nigeria. So in 2000, when we had a challenge with the company that I was working for, business was no longer ongoing. We had to start looking for opportunity to find something else to do. I decided to say, okay, I think this is the time for me to now focus on this locks business. So I had saved up some money from other activities that I was doing. So I saved up quite a good chunk of money. I started to say, let me go full blown into this business. So what did I do? I placed an order for some of the locks, okay, to be delivered. Then I went out to look for an office space. I got a very beautiful office space that had like a showroom in front where I can display the locks. So I had all these beautiful display stands that would showcase the locks. You know, there were bicycle locks, then car locks. Those were the different type of cable locks. There were cable locks for bicycles, for motorcycles, and then for cars. So I got the order arrived. I displayed, started looking for markets. So I started looking for market after I've received the order, got my office space. Then I tried to do some ad. Uh, then I started going to visit car companies to see if they will agree to buy the car lock. Because this pedal. Okay, so why I did that was
Wait a minute,
because
you broke up there. So you were saying
well,
that you went to visit the car companies to see if they
shops.
wanted to buy the car lock. Then what happened?
Okay.
We
Oh,
lost
okay.
you at that
So
point.
okay. So I visited car companies to see if they could buy these car locks and install them in their cars,
Yep.
such that when customers come to buy the cars, they would sell the car lock as part of their accessories. Okay, with their cars. So that was what I was doing. So I started talking to several car companies. Okay. So the line kept breaking me.
All right, hold on. I'm going to turn off my video for a second. Let's turn off our video for just a minute, and we'll try to cut down on bandwidth. So let's go back to the point that you said. I'll edit out the other part. Let's just go back to the point that you went to the car companies and start from there.
Okay, so I visited the car companies to discuss with them to see how they can sell the car lock, the pedal car lock as part of their accessories. Okay. Um, so that whenever a customer comes to buy the car, these car locks will be included as part of the accessories to be sold to their customers. That was my intention, and that was the negotiations I was having with the car companies. So they all showed great interest, but at the end of the day, what I discovered was that it didn't really happen. So maybe you get them by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I had a large stock of these car locks. I had a large stock of the bicycle locks and the motorcycle locks. So I also tried to look for dealers, bicycle dealers, motorcycle dealers, to see if they can also uh, include it as part of their accessories that they sell to their clients. So that was basically what I did. When I saw that it wasn't moving, I decided to then go ahead, hire some sales agents who will go from shop to shop to see how they can sell the locks. I engage them on commission base. So if you sell, you get a commission paid for what you're able to sell. So they did quite some small sales, not as much as I wanted. And my rent was running. So the money that I had invested in the rent, I had paid for 2 years rent in that particular establishment, in that shopping complex. or a business complex. So I stayed there. At the end of the first year, I was not able to generate enough revenue to even pay the first year rent. Okay, so which means I'm not able to recover. Then we continued up until the end of the second year. Things were getting worse instead of getting better. Uh, they were getting worse, and I couldn't recover my money. So I now sat down to look at what have I spent, only to discover that as at that time, if we convert the naira that I spent was over 2.5 million or so that I've invested in setting up the place, and then outside the cost of even importing the product. So close to about 30,000 US dollars as at then in 2000.
That's
And
a
if you
lot of
convert
money.
that, yeah, it's a lot of money,
Yeah.
over 20 to 30,000. So
Yep.
if you convert that in today, it's actually a very huge amount of money in naira. Okay, in today's exchange rate, because the exchange rate then was about 105 naira to a dollar, and today you have about 500 naira to a dollar. So that would be 5 times if we were to convert that value today, 5 times that value. That was exactly what I lost. Okay, so it got to the point that because I couldn't generate enough money, I spent 24 months there, not enough money. The rent expired. The landlord now came to ask me to either renew the rent or move out. So either renew the rent or move out. And I didn't have money to renew the rent. So I was battling with looking for money to pay my house rent. Now I'm battling with looking for money to pay for the office space. That was a very big challenge. What do I do? At the end of the day, the worst thing that happened was that I was actually ejected from that premises. Ejected in the sense that I couldn't even retrieve my uh, the remaining part of the goods that were in that space. I couldn't retrieve them because I couldn't pay the rent. So the landlord said, okay, since you're not able to pay the rent, I'm going to keep hold on to your properties, the furnitures, the remaining balance of the locks that were there until you're able to raise the money. And so
Wow.
at the end of the day, I just told the landlord, okay, maybe what we need to do is that you can take them, sell them off. When you are able to sell them off, you can give me whatever difference that you made. And that was how we had to see that deal. So I really lost so much. Lost the money, lost the properties that were there because I couldn't get them back. And that was far back in 2000. So after that, I had to now begin to, instead of doing business, I said to myself, I think maybe it's not yet time for me to get into this kind of business. Maybe I need to look for a job. So that was when I started looking for a formal job, so that maybe if I need to get into business, I need to do something different from what I've just done. So what do I learn
Mm.
from this experience?
Yep.
So that's basically the story. That's
Yep.
basically the story. So I really want me to share with you what I
Yeah.
learned
I
from
mean,
that
yeah, I'd
experience.
love to hear how you summarize what you learned from that.
Okay. So when that then happened, I sat down. Uh, you know, it got to a point when these things were going on. I was somehow depressed. Okay, because my hope was that when I start the business, because of the excitement, you know, I believed that everything was going to go smoothly. I was going to begin to make money and I'll be able to stand on my own. But when it didn't turn out that way, I somehow was slightly depressed. Okay.
Mm.
But somehow, I guess because I'm a very spiritual person, I kind of prayed about it, and somehow I had some peace. And I started going out to look for a job. Luckily for me, I started sharing with people that I need a job because things were no longer as rosy. My savings had depleted by that value, and I didn't have any money. So somehow I finally got a job. I finally got a job, which was how I moved into HR. So I got a job in HR. But the lesson that I learned from that, okay, was that when I look back, what are the mistakes that I made? I discovered that I did not first of all, kind of size up the markets to be sure that these people that I want to sell to will be willing to take on the product and
Mm.
add it as part of their accessories, to sell their cars.
Yep.
If I had known that they would not readily accept, maybe I would not have invested that much money. Then the other thing again is that I could have operated from my home, instead of going to rent a fancy shop, because my expectation was that when you have this fancy looking office
Everybody's
everywhere
gonna
well
come.
decorated, people would just keep coming and trooping in. But I noticed that I could sit there for a week, or maybe one or two people would just walk in.
Oh.
And I printed flyers which I shared, but people were not really responding. Okay,
Mm.
which showed that I wasn't talking to the right people, or I didn't study the market very well to understand whether this is going to sell or not going to sell.
Mm.
So that was the big lesson for me. Maybe I should have started from home instead of going to rent that office. Maybe I should have tidied up all the agreements, have a bulk purchase order in place so that when the goods come in, I already have people who are waiting to pick them up. Not that the goods come in and then I'm now looking for people to pick them up and it takes a long time. The other thing I also learned is that, when you want to establish a business relationship, especially a B2B kind of business relationship, it takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. So I was
Mm.
expecting that as soon as I speak to them, it's a nice idea. Yes, I'm excited about the idea, but the person I'm selling it to, is he or she excited as much as I am? If they are not, nothing will happen. And then even if they are excited, there are processes, there are procedures that they need to go through before that B2B relationship can be established. Those are some of the things that I learned from that experience.
Mm. Mm. And one of the things I was thinking about is when you as an HR professional see someone coming in applying for a job, and you see on their resume or they tell you that they had tried to do a startup but they ended up, it didn't work out the way they planned. For me, I find those people very valuable. Like,
Yeah.
they've learned some tough lessons. I'm just wondering, how do you look at people that come to you from an HR perspective when they've been through something similar to what you went through?
Yeah, so what I usually will do is to ask them the lessons that they've learned from that, because for every experience that we go through, we need to be able to pick out the lessons, and the lessons should help us to become better in future. So if they're able to share what they've been able to learn from that experience and how they can avoid it going forward, and it means that they've really invested in themselves. So it wasn't a waste investment. I wouldn't see that as, even though it's worst, it looks like as if it's waste. You've learned how not to do it. So which means going forward, you become a better person. So like if you ask me now, I'm also trying to set up another business, but because of the lessons that I've learned from that experience, I'm setting up this business differently. And I'm certain that this one is going to work very well.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
If I would just share some of my takeaways from it, I think probably one of the most common things that I hear from people that are starting up businesses is they didn't test the market. And I think that a lot of
Yes.
people don't realize, they don't. When I was young and I was studying university, I thought, oh, marketing's easy, it's simple. But what I learned is that marketing is actually really hard. And part of
Mhm.
the challenge with marketing is that you're doing two things. You're testing the
Yes.
market, there's this sales aspect, but there's a
Yeah.
second thing that you don't think about that much, and that's like, what is your marketing channel? How are
Yeah.
you going to
Yeah.
get to the customer? Once you get to the customer, okay, now you got to think about, how do I convince that customer that this is right for them? And that
Yes.
whole process of testing and iterating, I always admire people who start off their business with this kind of iteration process, because I think in my business startups, I've pretty much done like you've done. I had my idea, I thought it was a great idea, I went into it with both feet, and next thing you know, I'm thinking, uh-oh.
I should have started differently.
Yeah. I want to I want you just to think for a moment, because I know that some of my listeners are in a situation where they're caught up in the excitement of starting up a new business. They see a lot of opportunity, and but they listen to your story and they think, oh, well, I don't want to end up like that. So, based
Mm.
upon what you learned from this story and what you continue to learn, what one action would you recommend our listeners take to avoid suffering the same fate?
Okay, so the one action that I would recommend is before starting any business at all, you need to do a test. Okay, uh, I'm trying to set up a coaching business now.
Mm,
And what am I doing? I'm testing the market, get a small group, try to offer a service that I intend to offer the larger market, test it, tweak it, test, tweak, okay, until I'm certain that, okay, this is now ready to go before I launch out and scale it. So you need
mm,
to test the market, which was one thing I didn't do. I didn't go to, because I knew I wanted to sell to car companies, car dealers, I should have gone to see, test and see, will it work? If it wouldn't work, then I should have done something instead of stocking up and then expect that when I go to them, they will pick it up. So testing the market is one idea that I would ask anyone who wants to start small, test, just do a pilot. Don't make so much noise. Don't let people know that that is what you're really doing, but you just keep testing the market. And when you are sure that everything is working, like in my coaching business I'm trying to do now, what am I doing? I'm coaching people privately, quietly, one on one, getting feedback, working with them to see whether what I'm working with them is going to work out. So, for those that it has worked out for some, it didn't work out. So, I'm also learning the lesson. Okay, these are the things I need to avoid. Okay, for those that it worked out for, I've also looked through to see what did I do right.
mm.
And so, I've picked these two lessons. That's what I'm going to put together. And then eventually, when I launch out, it becomes something that is solid and is going to work for everyone.
It's great advice. And, I have the valuation masterclass, and I've been teaching it. Basically, I stopped teaching at university for equity valuation about 5 or 7 years ago, and I started putting it
Yeah.
online. And it did pretty well online, but I came up with a theory that maybe people want something more intensive. So I thought, how about if we try the boot camp, make it really tough and intensive? And of course, I get these ideas in my head, but that doesn't mean that they're good ideas. They're
Yeah.
just good ideas in my head. But
Yeah.
I basically said, and this is an important element of it, it's not just iterating the product, it's iterating the price. And I basically said,
Yes.
I think we charged about 500 US dollars. And I said,
Okay.
I'm going to offer this boot camp. It was in the middle of the pandemic, so we were kind of in lockdown in Thailand. I thought, I know I'm going to be home, and we are allowed to have gatherings up to 20 people. I said, I'm going to offer boot camp for 8 people in my home for 6 weeks. And sure enough, I got 8 people, each of them paid, and I took care of
Yeah.
them for 6 weeks. And we developed the curriculum as we were going. And I had already had most of the
Yeah.
curriculum done, but we developed the activities, we developed everything. And then we graduated these 8 people, and it went really well. And then I went out to say, okay, I'm going to do it again. But what I found was I just didn't get as much of a response. And it started making me think maybe the market's not there right here in Thailand. And it
Yeah.
kind of, then the government went through another lockdown. I thought, I have to go global. So I
Mm,
decided
mm.
then to take it online. And now I'm in week 5 of a 6 week boot camp. We've got
Okay.
20 some students, as well as one from Nigeria, in fact, in the group.
Okay.
And we've iterated through the material now a second time, made it much better. And now we're
Hmm.
really ready to launch to the bigger world. And
Yeah.
each time we launch at a little bit higher price, try to get more people in there. And that is important about iterating with price.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah.
So, last question. What
Mhm.
is your number one goal for the next 12 months?
My number one goal for the next 12 months, like I said, I'm building a coaching business. So my goal is the next 12 months to at least have coached over 1,000
Mm.
either leaders or career transition career transitioners or job seekers. So my focus is on future leaders and job seekers. Okay,
Right.
people who want to move from the level they are now to a leadership role. So I hope that in the next 12 months I would have coached over 1,000
Wow.
professionals. Yeah. That's my goal
And
for the next 12
I,
months.
I want some of my listeners to contact you about that. Where is the best way? What is the best way for them to reach out? I'll have all the links in the show notes. Where is the best place?
Yes. So LinkedIn is the best place to reach out to me. Send me a message and email on LinkedIn. So whether you're connected to me or you're not connected to me, you have the ability to send me a mail on LinkedIn. So we can then take the conversation from there.
Fantastic.
So
All right.
if you're a job seeker or a future leader, you're looking for a way to be able to leverage whatever potential that you have to land your dream job or to move into a leadership role, then I'm the coach that you are looking for.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So you got, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just go to his LinkedIn and you'll see. And I'm looking at your LinkedIn right now. It says
Okay.
E.N. Michael. But I'll have the
Yes,
links in
and
the show
Michael.
notes. So all you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, come to the show notes, click on the LinkedIn, and you will go there. Well,
Yeah.
listeners, there you have it. Another story of loss to keep you winning. My number one goal for the next 12 months is to help you, my listener, reduce risk and increase return in your life. To do this, I've created our community at myworstinvestmentever.com. And when you join, you get that special discount to my valuation masterclass boot camp. As we conclude, EM, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. And on behalf of A Stotz Academy, I hereby award you alumni status for turning your worst investment ever into your best teaching moment. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
Parting words is keep hope alive. Don't give up. It might look rough now, but it will look better tomorrow.
Beautiful. And that's a wrap on another great story to help us create, grow, and protect our wealth. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz, saying, I'll see you on the upside.